Meantime, President Obama is preparing to deliver his final State of the Union address.
Here with what the commander-in-chief will cover and how he's hoping to help a Democratic presidential candidate in the process is political analyst Dallas Jones. Good morning to you. Thank you so much.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing great this morning, and we keep hearing, I think his staff is sort of leaking the information a little bit, that we're going to get something untraditional tonight. What do you know about that? What do they mean by that?
Well, I think what we can expect is the president to really look to frame his legacy, look at the accomplishments over the last 7 years, and I think we can also kind of look at a fourth quarter sort of rally cry. Expect for him to say the work is not done. There's still much to be done to move our country forward. There's still a lot of work, and we can't let the other side of the aisle move us backwards. And I think you can hear that tone while trying not to go over the top and make anyone too upset from the Republican Party.
Traditionally, presidents have used this final State of the Union address as a so-called victory lap. And these waning months where presidents are typically lame duckish, he does not intend to go that way, go quietly into the good night, does he? No,
not at all. As you can see, he just rolled out a gun control plan in the last week. You can expect him to talk about that and why it's important and the need for bipartisanship around this issue. You can expect to see remnants of his first campaign where folks were fired up and ready to go. I think you'll hear some of that kind of cheer style trying to get people riled up this evening. I hear a rumor that Edith Child, who originated the fired up, ready to go kind of mantra in the Obama campaign, will be the Lenny Skolnick sitting with Michelle Obama this evening. So we can look to that.
Well, and other issues that people are still concerned about: minimum wage. People feel like they don't make enough money. Tax reform. So he's expected to keep pushing toward those. And then perhaps even you think he'll be talking about some of those things tonight and what his plans still are during his presidency?
I think you can definitely expect to hear him talk about issues such as tax reform, immigration reform. Frankly, some things that he most likely won't be able to get accomplished with a Republican Congress moving into his last year in an election year. But I can expect that he will try to move the ball forward on those things and hope that a president from his party is elected that can pick that ball up and move it forward.
There is a determined part of the populace that does not like what President Obama has done in his term. They have distinct lines. So does he double down on his side?
Well, I think so. I think, you know, I don't know if you've seen even the advertisement for this speech this evening with him getting ready with his bow tie. It's a very grandiose kind of, you know, hey, look, we did it. Here's the last hurrah. Let's move forward. And so I think you can expect him to see, here's what I committed to you 7 years ago, and here's what I've done. Reform in the auto industry, reform on Wall Street, reform in terms of Obamacare and health care reform, and all of those things. I think you can expect him opening relations with Cuba. I think you can expect him to talk about all of those things that he feels are major accomplishments.
Well, with it being an election year, a lot is on the line. So do you feel like he's going to try to, you mentioned he's not going to try to hack off Republicans, but do some things, say some things that might help set up a Democrat to be the next president?
I think you can definitely expect.
And how does he do that?
Well, I think you frame what you've done, and then you frame what still needs to be done and why your particular ideology is one that has brought about a positive change, which is what he campaigned on for our country, and that we can't roll those things back. So I think with those undertones, he sets up an opportunity for Hillary Clinton, who is the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party.
Well, we will remind folks that you can watch not only the State of the Union address anywhere you want to watch it here on Fox 26 tonight at 8. Dallas Jones, thank you.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Good to see you as always.
Absolutely.
Always fun, spirited conversation.